Good morning, and welcome to the District Power of the Pen Writing Tournament. My name is Polly Rudabush, and I'm a teacher at McBroom Junior High School in St. Mary's, Ohio. Today, we all share a common bond, a love for writing, and a genuine interest in nurturing that love with young writers. The outcome of today's tournament experience begins here and now. Please pay close attention to these instructions and note any questions you may have. Your tab room supervisor will be happy to answer any questions at the end of my instructions. You should have the following supplies: a pen, your runner's packet, and your judge's folder. One side of the folder contains a building map, a thank you page acknowledging our generous sponsors, an evaluation for the tournament, and today's schedule. On the opposite side, the packet contains ballots for scoring today's writing and a blue or yellow grid. If you haven't done so already, you will want to find your code number on the grid so you know where you will be working. Veteran judges, please resist filling in portions of your ballots in advance. Mismatched ballots can result in tournament delays and inaccurate results. You may think you're saving yourself time now, but you are actually setting yourself up for a catastrophe and putting the tournament schedule in jeopardy. The beginning of our day begins much like the beginning of a normal school day with taking attendance. As students arrive in your room, divide them accordingly to their assigned section and be sure each student knows the judge who is responsible for their section. Use the blue, 8th grade, and yellow, 7th grade grids and check off numbers as you call roll. Be sure that you see and hear the student as you call his or her number. Double check to make sure you have everyone assigned to your room. After allowing sufficient time, notify the tab room via the runner if someone is missing by writing a note on your runner's envelope. If there is an extra student in your group and you are not sure where to direct them, allow them to write and notify the tab room supervisor by advising of the extra student's number. We will allow them to stay in your room to take full advantage of the writing time, and a tab room supervisor will deliver his or her paper to the proper room at the end of the round. Remember to adhere to your schedules. Students receive a 5 to 10 minute break between rounds of writing. Before the writing begins, remind students of the following important tips. Separate first and second sheets during writing. Often, students want to stack these papers together, and we all know what that will produce with the carbons. Use black pens if possible. Write contestant code numbers in block print. And poetry is discouraged. To begin the round, write the topic for the appropriate round only on the board and read the topic aloud. Do not define prompts or explain the prompt in any way. We want the students' creativity to be reflected. Note the starting time on the board. During the writing, at the halfway point, note the time and say it aloud. Walk the rows periodically to check the carbons. Also, watch for students attempting to use books or pre-written materials to develop writing. Report any concerns to the tab room supervisor. Notify the students 5 minutes before the end of the round so they can wrap up their piece. After beginning round 1, read the judge's orientation sheet and fill out the teacher evaluation sheet during round 1. Evaluations should be turned in at the end of round 3. Students must remain in the room throughout the round. They are permitted to have dictionaries and or thesaurus. However, no electronic devices are permitted. Please do not allow other interruptions. When you begin evaluating the writing, grade round 1 during the writing of round 2. Grade round 2 during the writing of round 3. And finally, grade round 3 shortly after round 3 writing has been completed. By sticking to this timetable, you will help to keep the tournament schedule on time as well. You are grading holistically. Look at how the entire paper addresses the prompt. Allow as much latitude as possible. When you're grading the essay, separate the original and the carbon copy for each writer and place each in a separate pile. Read all the papers from the original copies and begin to make decisions about where the papers should fall. Reread the papers and make any necessary changes. Remember, there are no ties. Begin to fill out the ballot. Please be very careful to write the correct code number on the ballot as you respond to that paper. If the paper does not have a title, please write Untitled on the ballot as the title. Circle the rank score on the ballot and begin to assign the quality points for each paper, with number 1 receiving the highest quality points and number 6 receiving the lowest. There are no duplicates. Quality points of 99 and 100 should be assigned to papers you would expect to see in the Book of Winners. Be sure to fill in all 5 areas of the ballot as shown on the example. Writers really want feedback from you. Please give them accurate and appropriate feedback for their piece. After grading the essays, arrange the ballots 1 through 6, the original essays 1 through 6, and the carbon copies 1 through 6. That is, ballots, originals, carbon copies. Place these in the envelope in that order and give the packet to the runner to take to the tab room. After round 3 is completed, grade the papers quickly and bring the envelope to the tab room yourself. Runners will not be picking those up. However, they have been asked to check with you before they leave for the day. Any extra materials can be put in these envelopes. If a student writes a rough draft during a round of writing and runs out of time recopying it, grade the draft and send it to the tab room as the original. If you have alternate writers in your room, they should write on notebook paper and put their name and school name on all of their papers. Extra writing sheets throughout the morning will be available from the runners in the tab room. Student evaluations continually reflect a concern for excessive noise in the writing rooms. Please turn off your cell phones and pagers. Refrain from using them during writing rounds. Do not talk to the other judges during the writing round. If you need to have a discussion, step out in the hallway and be sure that the students do not wear headphones during the round. Some of today's participants will leave with a medallion, a writing journal, or even a trophy. However, the overwhelming majority of students will leave with only your comments to encourage them to continue writing. Choose your words carefully. Our young writers are eager for suggestions for improvement, but they need a healthy amount of praise as well. Be sure your rank and quality points are supported with specific and appropriate comments. I would like to leave you with the words of John W. Schlatter. I am the most fortunate of all who labor. I have a past that is rich in memories. I have a present that is challenging, adventurous, and fun, because I am allowed to spend my days with the future. Let's be sure that when we send our future home today, they are inspired to continue writing. Here's Debbie Bruger, a teacher from Rockaway Middle School in Springfield, Ohio, to talk about the elements of good writing.
I wish there were a clear set of absolute rules that I could give you for assessing these papers, but Norman Mailer once said, "There are 3 rules for writing the great American novel." Unfortunately, no one knows what they are. To some extent, we feel this way here at Power of the Pen, but there are some guidelines that those of us who have done this many times have found helpful. The best papers should have a clear, strong emotional impact. You should be touched in some way when you read this paper. The narrative should reach out to you from this young writer, not in a manipulative or preset way, not as trite emotionalism, but in an honest exploration and expression of human experience and human feelings. This is what good writing is really all about. Look for eloquent, mature, and appropriately used powerful word choices, including the effective use of figurative language and description. Watch out for the thesaurus trap. That's when kids have tried to use big words and somehow it just doesn't come out quite right because they didn't know their meanings and the words weren't quite used right. Vivid language, variety in word choice, and sentence structure. These are often what separate a good story from an outstanding one. Follow Mark Twain, who said, The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between a lightning bug and a lightning bolt. Also, though length alone is not a criteria for excellence, most of us have never read a powerful narrative that can be written on 1 page or less. It takes longer than that to effectively develop character, setting, to create a symbol, to engage the reader in meaningful conflict. Generally, well-developed pieces just need more space. Watch out for cliches and pieces that seem pre-written. These pitfalls often occur by accident. The student does not really know that the expression he or she is using is a cliche. Sometimes they have previously written on a topic that engages them, and then they want to continue their involvement by writing about it again and again, even though it does not quite seem to fit the prompt. Be sure the piece is reasonable, an interpretive response to the prompt, and does do what the prompt asks the writer to do. Narratives call for plot, characters, and setting. If the prompt is open-ended, however, a writer can just reflect on an issue, or give an opinion, or create a mood. All of us have personal biases on hot issues. It is really important that we do not let these biases influence our judging, either positively or negatively. Issues like drug abuse, suicide, abortion, the Holocaust, or multiculturalism, all of these are issues that prompt strong feelings in students and in us. But remember, we are looking for powerful writing, not politically acceptable perspectives. We are writing judges, not morality judges. Also beware of the trap of pseudo-intellectualism. These kids are smart, but when they write vaguely and philosophically on issues using lots of abstract terms, they violate one of the real rules of writing, that is, show, don't tell. If you read a piece and you don't understand it, but the vocabulary and the subject matter seem adult, go back and read it again. But look carefully for these elements of good narration, good description, and clarity of thought. Look for a genuine voice. Is someone real and alive speaking to you through this piece? They should be. No matter how mature the philosophical perspective or point being made is. Don't get caught up in spelling or handwriting. Although these are always annoying, remember, we don't know what kind of speller Toni Morrison is, or Richard Peck, or what kind of handwriting John Steinbeck had, because we only see their finished product. Look for writing that is unique and original without being self-consciously so. Writing that is imaginative and sustains your interest as a reader throughout the piece. How many pieces of writing have you read from the point of view of an inanimate object? I am Susie's telephone. I am Billy's tennis shoes. Personification, if it is well done, is great. But if it's a gimmick, it's not necessarily good writing. Finally, ask yourself, how does this piece of writing compare to the best 7th and 8th grade writing I've ever read? Not just in my school or in my district or even in my region, because there is tremendous variety and range among these. But in all of your experiences at reading the writing of students of this age, how does this piece of writing compare in structure, in development, in descriptive detail, and, most significantly, in its impact on you, the reader? I hope that all you have heard during this session has prepared and informed you for the exciting tournament ahead. If you still have additional questions, be sure to raise them with the judge you confer with or at the close of this session. Enjoy the challenge and responsibilities that lie before you in this exciting and exhausting day. May you find writing that inspires, uplifts, amuses, touches, and excites you, and reassures you that the future of literacy is in the excellent hands of these young people. Thank you, and thanks to the generous sponsorship of all those throughout the season who share our belief and value in the power of the pen.